So, good morning. Good morning, Woodland. Today is a successful day. I had a squirrel in my snare, so I shall be processing that later. First of all, I'm just going to wake up nicely with a cup of coffee. And although it's naughty, awake and bake. So, I should probably explain a little bit about what I'm doing here, how I got here maybe, and why I'm YouTubing. So, first of all, I'm YouTubing to sort of reach out. I don't know, really. It's always been something that I've wanted to do, YouTube, because I want to show other people that there is an alternative way to live. You don't have to be a part of that rat race if you don't want to. And it's a different life. It's a tough life, but it's tough in different ways. It's not so tough on this. It's just more physically challenged, to be honest, and i.e. with food and whatnot. So I thought that YouTubing would be a way to reach out to other people, show others a new way, and also just to make some connections. Really, it'd be nice to speak to. Well, I'm finding of recent that there are other people doing the same thing, and this seems to be growing. So again, more of a reason for me to do it, because it would be nice to reach out to people. Although I do like my isolation. It's nice to exchange ideas. It's nice to chat with people that are like-minded. And at the moment, anyone that's close to me think I'm completely nuts. The only person that doesn't think that, I think, is my son. But the rest of the family, I'm sure, think that I'm a bit crazy. And they're waiting for me to get over it. I think, oh, it's just a phase and she'll get over it. This one's not going to get over. Not going to be gotten over, shall I say. You'll have to excuse me because I've obtained a cold, which is so annoying when you don't. I mean, normally I'm not around people, so I shouldn't have got a cold. But I had to go and charge my phone at the local library, and I'm pretty sure that's probably where I got it. Anyway, so why am I out here? Where did it all begin? So, in 2013, I had quite a bad breakdown. It was probably work related initially. I was working as a social worker. I was doing safeguarding, adult safeguarding. It was a very stressful job, and it completely conflicted. I got into it for the right reasons, obviously, but once I was in the role, it completely conflicted with everything internal in me. I believed that I should be helping people, and I wasn't. It seemed that well, I was helping people, but not to the degree that I should have been able to help them. It was the system. It's all about, well, if it looks good, tie it up in a bow and put it away. What I mean by that is there was a few cases and incidents where carers had written in their care journals or diaries, that they'd provided what not care and this care and that care they've been in. They're making little notes of what they've done, blah blah blah, and off they go. And the patient, when I see them, or the service user, whatever you want to call them, was clearly neglected or whatever, and clearly they haven't done what they've written down. But the practice seemed to be from above that, well, it's written down, they've evidenced it, close the case. What's the problem? I could write down on a piece of paper that I'm the Queen Mother. It doesn't make me the Queen Mother. So that was just one example of things that were grating on me about the job. And anyhow, eventually I started getting really depressed. I had a mad breakdown, a really mad breakdown. I started imagining all sorts of things. I was really freaking out. I had a huge panic attack one day. I couldn't breathe. Paranoia just took over me, something incredible. I wouldn't let anyone phone me. I completely locked myself away. I wouldn't communicate with anybody. I'd shut myself off from work and all sorts. It was pretty bad, and I literally lived on a sofa for nearly 6 months. I don't think I even had a bath in that time. My son was at home with me, and he was really he didn't really know what to do. He didn't go to my family and tell them because he was worried of embarrassing me, so that was pretty sad. But he'd done his best to try and care for me at that time. I mean, he was just a little teenager himself. He was quite young. He was about 14, 15. And then one day he went off to school, and I bolted the door. I had about 6 bolts behind my door because I was busy trying to fight off different things and different debts and stuff. So anyway, I saw my son off to school, and I locked the door from the inside. All these big bolts, cha-chunk, cha-chunk, cha-chunk. And then, believing I was doing the kindest thing for everyone, I done the ultimate, and I took a massive overdose. I ended up, thankfully, being saved. Turns out, I phoned my grandmother in the middle of it. Sorry. I'd phoned my grandmother in the middle of it, and I don't remember doing that. But of course, she sent the police and that round, and they managed to break in. So I spent some time in the hospital on a drip for a few days, and then they, my family wanted me to go into hospital because they didn't want me putting my son through anymore. So that was fair enough. I had to self-admit. Anyway, so I self-admitted, and sorry, it's just gets to me. So I self-admitted, and they took away all of my rights, and they treated me as though I was a section patient. It was really hard getting out of there. I had to, I haven't got any tissue. Oh, I've got a rag. So I had to do everything they wanted me to do, play along with their rules, and they were tough rules to follow. But anyway, eventually I got out, and when I got out, I was trying to sort my life back out and get back on track. But something had changed in me. Something really had changed from that day forth, and I can't go back anymore. I discovered I started learning more about how corrupt the system was, and how, I mean, especially with things like fines, judges, solicitors, and that, they're all governed by the same people, and they're all kissing each other's asses and feeding the fines, and so I digress again, but so needless to say, coming out of hospital and trying to get it back together, it was difficult. I couldn't get my head back in the game. I couldn't become a slave again. It just wasn't something I could cope with anymore. So I had a moment with my son one morning. We was getting ready, for school work, and he said, "You are miserable. I'm going to flip a coin, and if it lands on heads, then okay, be sensible and go to work. But if it lands on tails, I think we should turn our backsides with all the money that we've got in the bank, buy what we need, and fuck off. Go do travelling." So that's what we did. It landed on tails. I walked away from my life, my flat, everything. Just with our tents, I abandoned everything, and I mean everything. The only thing that I got out of that flat was a box of photographs and a couple of bits of paperwork that I thought possibly could be important sometime in the future. But I stored them at my mum's, and off we went. Now, the idea was to go travelling, but I wasn't comfortable with doing that straight away, being an adult. My son was just a teenager. I said to him that no, we need to get a handle of trying to manage that kind of life whilst we've got the security of the family not too far away. So we headed out to our local woodlands and spent 6 months trying to get the handle of trapping and working out what we could and couldn't eat. Learning how to skin processed squirrels and birds and whatnot. The squirrels are quite tough to process, believe it or not. They're not easy. They've got tough skins. Anyway, we got the handle of it. Well, as good as could be. And off we went. It was getting cold, so we figured it was as good a time than any. And the plan was to go over to Holland on the ferry. Sorry, excuse me sniffing. Was to go over to Holland on the ferry and walk Holland and then head south to Spain and do the coast of Spain and possibly come all the way around and we'll just make it. It was the plan. We didn't really have much of a plan apart from stick it out for as long as we can. Anyway, we did stick it out for quite a while. I mean, a year or so down the line, we were in Benidorm by that point. We'd literally walked and thumbed our way, apart from one little flight that we got over the mountains, that we got from the bottom of Maastricht in Holland to Girona, which is the north of Spain. It was just to get over the mountains really. It was getting too cold and it was a bit dangerous to do something like that with the sort of equipment we had, so we got the flight, but it was only cheap. It was only about 20 quid each. We thought we was going to land in Barcelona. That's what the ticket said. Anyway, we got off the airport. We were in bloody Girona, weren't we? We had no idea at first. It took us 2 days to work out that we was at the wrong airport. And that was when we circled round. We walked for about miles. We'd walked for 2 days, circled round and got back to the same bloody airport. Finally found some lady in a cafe that we got speaking to, and she pointed out that it's Ryanair, and Ryanair can be a bit funny and drop you off anywhere. So it turns out that despite the fact that the ticket said Barcelona on it, we ended up in Girona. So I stopped in Benidorm for a little while. I got a job at a telesales because we needed money. We was starving to death. We was so thin. So there's very little resources in Spain. It's not like here. It was running a life with squirrels and plant life. Anyway, so we got jobs doing telesales, soul destroying. I won't lie, absolutely soul destroying. And then my son wanted to come back. He was missing his friends and stuff, so I brought him back. Stayed in the woods here while he got set up, and then I returned to Spain. I stayed out there again doing the telesales for a bit, but then I was again, back in the rat race, and the depression was taking over me, despite the fact I was in a beautiful sunny country with a gorgeous beach and all the things around me that would make me happy. Normally you'd think. It wasn't. It was making me miserable. And there was one time when I was laid in one of their tiny little bathtubs they have out there, breaking up a Bic razor to get to the blade, and I held it against my wrist for what must have been ages. I mean, the bath went cold. Thankfully I didn't do it, and I eventually got out in a bit of a state, mind, but I realised that something had to change, so I went back to my tent. I quit the job, went back to my tent, Ran out of money again, couldn't survive, had to get a couple of days kitchen work. That was cash in hand, that was good. That couple of days kitchen work suddenly turned into a full-time job overnight. It was just insane, so they kept putting more and more work on me until in the end I was doing it again. And yeah, you know, so I quit that one as well. What I'd done is I worked, saved as much money as I could, and then I quit. And just siphoned off the money little by little until it ran out. Then I ended up in a bit of bother out there. Some guy, older guy, who was all kind of, oh, I'm going to buy some land and you can come and live on there with me and you can help me farm it and blah blah blah. Anyway, he beat the fuck out of me. I ended up having to give up the area I was staying in because of some dogs that were causing me some trouble, and he offered me to stay at he had a caravan on a caravan site, so he said I could stop at his for a bit until I work out the next move, and must have been there a few weeks, and yeah, he flipped on me, beat the shit out of me, busted my lip open, and needless to say, I ended up in a hostel, a women's refuge, and I got a flight back. I weren't going to stay in a women's refuge, and at that point I really needed to be around my family. I was pretty destroyed, so I came back, and moved in with my mother, tried again to get settled, and get into work, but it turns out that that weren't working out too well either. I was doing 2 double shifts a week, 20 hours, and it was a weekend, so it was just a trolley dolly, so you know, I didn't feel too put upon. I was just serving teas and coffees on the wards in the hospital. Anyhow, after a while I was getting depressed again, and I suddenly started getting debt letters through. Some of them were, some of them, yeah, quite serious. Income tax. They reckoned that I owed them about $3,000 from the time that I was away, just because I disappeared off the radar. And apparently any money that I earned out there, despite having to pay tax out there, you know, I still have to pay tax here. So, and I had a lot of letters coming through at my mother's. Another one from, well, there was another one as well where they were taking money out of my wages. They were taking like about £10 a month. I had to cut my hours down because I couldn't stay at my mum's in the end. I had to come back into my tent, so I cut my hours down to 1 day a week and moved back out into the woods. And then I would go to my mum's the night before work, and I'd get washed, get my uniform clean, and go to work in the morning, and then return back here and do it all over again. So I was doing that for a little while, and they were taking one of these debts that I had. It was a traffic fine, apparently. I had a speeding fine. I didn't know about it until the letter came through, and I realised that money was being taken out of my wage. But you know, they were taking £10 a month. I didn't think it was too bad. I mean, I was earning £80 a week, and they took £10 out of it a month, so fair enough. But then they decided all of a sudden that wasn't good enough for them. They wanted more. They wanted the lot. So they passed it over to Marston's. This was a court order, you see. So they passed it over to Marston's. I tried to explain to Marston's the state of my mental health, and that, you know, I do have suicidal tendencies, and that this isn't helping at all. And I live in a tent, and so I'm not even at my mum's. So it's a care of address. But you know, they don't believe you. They think you're bull. So anyway, they carried on threatening. I tried to appeal to the court to take it back and reconsider it, you know, to just carry on taking what they were taking, because that's all I have. They wouldn't. They decided as well that they were just, they're greedy. They don't care, and they don't care about you. What are you? You're just a farm animal. So, yeah. So what happened then is, in order to convince them that I was telling the truth, and I'm not at my mother's, because I can't have them turning up at my mum's. That would just freak me right out. My mum's, she doesn't deserve that. She's done nothing but try and help me. So I contacted work, quit, explained why. In fact, what I'd done is I forwarded them the email trail that I'd been having with Marston's so they could see everything. Thankfully, my boss already knew about my lifestyle, and he was fine with it. So long as I was at work. I mean, I was a good worker. I turned up on time. I was always clean. I'd done everything that I needed to do, and I worked the hardest wards, and I wasn't a complainer. And so he was happy to just turn a blind eye to. In fact, I think he thought it was kind of cool. So he wasn't surprised when I told him that I had to quit because of this problem. And so when he sent me the quit certificate, and the whole time I'm emailing work, by the way, I'm copying in Marston's. Oh, a little spider on my sock. Oh, there you go. I was copying in Marston's because I wanted them to see that I'm an open book, and this is what it is. And I'm not lying. I am in a bloody tent, and I do only earn £80 a week. Well, I did. So I copied everyone in, and then when I got my final quit certificate from work, I forwarded that on to Marston's, and pointed out that now they're hounding my care of address, which is my mother's. They leave me no choice but to quit the only income that I have. So no, they're definitely not going to get their money, and see you later. So that's that really, and now I'm back out here. Well, I've been out here again. Well, I say back out here. I was out here anyway, but I mean without any money. And I've now had. Well, I've got a tiny bit of money. Like I say, about £30 a week. But because I'm a smoker, I keep spending it on tobacco. It's doing my head in. I really need to quit. I have been trying. I keep making a conscious effort to leave it as long as possible until I'm absolutely screaming for one, and then I'll have one. But it's so unsatisfying. Like I smoked the whole thing. It was just such glee, you know what I mean? And then when I put it out, it's oh God, I don't want to have to put it out. Oh, addictions, man. They are what they are. But I suppose eventually the money is going to run out. And then it will leave me with no choice. Oh, I say that, but I have reached some real lows before now where I've picked up cigarette ends and smoked those. So, sometimes I'm lucky and I'll have papers, and I've been able to put it in the paper and re-roll it. But there have been times when I've been a bit unlucky and there are no papers and there's nothing. And you just have to hope to God that the person whose cigarette butt you're smoking hasn't got some terrible illness that you could catch, you know. So that's my story. Another YouTuber, put it really well the other day when I watched one of these videos, and he said that he doesn't know what it is, but something's driving him to do this, and that's kind of exactly how I feel. I don't know why I've always been a bit impulsive, maybe, but there's something that's driving me, and I know that I could starve to death. I know that. I know that I could freeze to death in the winters. In fact, starvation is probably more likely, to be fair. Anyhow, I know that there's a lot. I don't know. Well, actually, I don't know anything. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know anything. But in a way, that's kind of liberating as well as scary, because when I was in civilian life, if you like, you always know what the future holds, don't you? You plan so far ahead. You seem to know. You even know how you're going to die. You know what you're going to do for your funeral, and I just don't want to think like that. You know. And planning to have all these material things around you so that you can pass them on and do all these things, you know. I don't get that tie that people have with that. So something's driving me. Whenever I'm between four walls, like when I go and visit my mum, if I stay over or whatever, it's suffocating. It's absolutely suffocating. I can't wait to get back out here. Even though it's cold, I don't care. I don't care. It's that the freedom. I can hear the birds. I can feel the breeze. You know. I can watch the squirrels. And yeah, I hope that they get caught. So yeah, there you go. The story. Anyway, I hope I haven't bored you too much, and I hope that maybe someone gets something from this, you know, even if it just ignites something in just one person. It's enough, isn't it? You know, we need a bigger community of people like this, for sure, and we need to be in touch with one another, you know, we need to share ideas and thoughts and techniques, you know. Absolutely. So please feel free to comment below. You know, I'll try and check in as often as I can and respond when I can. And have a happy, free life.